Hey, welcome to the Create a Life That Is Beautiful podcast. I'm your host, Letitia Ringe, and this is the space to be for high vibe people looking to create a beautiful life and business. Let's do this. Welcome back to the podcast, my beautiful friends. I am Letitia Ringe, your host and coach, and it's such a pleasure as always to be here with you all today. Happy 2023, everybody. I hope you're all having the most magnificent start to the year. And I want to remind you all about why we're here on this podcast. We are here to create a life that is beautiful to each and every one of us here in this community. What does that mean? That means creating a life that you love, that you enjoy, and that you are so inspired by. Now, I know that so many of you listening to this podcast are coaches, healers, space holders, or in the business of personal development in some way, which means you either have a business that is in the industry of personal development or you are actively working on your own personal development in some way. And I want to remind you that no matter where you are in your life right now as you listen to this episode, that is what we're continuing to focus our minds upon every time we come back to this podcast, to listen in, to learn, and to implement what you're learning and what you're resonating most with through each episode. So in service of that mission today, I am here to give you all a bit of an update on what's been happening in my life recently. The only reason I'm sharing these personal learnings is because they have been so important to my own personal development as a human being and also as a coach. And so I want to share with you what's been happening behind the scenes so that you understand the process that I've just been on and then can get inspired by that same process. I also, more importantly, want to share with you all the new focus of our work here together on the podcast moving forward, because there are some changes coming up and you're going to start seeing new content on a new topic. And this is the very first time I'm sharing it with anyone publicly today. And I'm so excited to be in a position to do that because I have had so much resistance to really staking my claim in this area. And so, like with every other time I have stepped into a volume of my work, there's always been major resistance. And so I always know that's the right next step for me. But I want to share that with you all because I know so many of you feel that same resistance, maybe even every day at the moment, and use it as a reason not to move forward and take action. My word for 2023 is courageous action. I know it's not a word, it's actually a phrase. If it was a word, it would be courage. And I've really felt into this phrase and chosen it very consciously and intentionally as my word for 2023 because more and more as I have faced some of the deepest fears in my life over the past 12 months, I have seen such huge growth and transformation and love, abundance, and happiness on the other side of courageous action. So I want to motivate each and every one of you to keep leaning into that resistance and taking the action that is driven by courage, even though you feel afraid, because what you're seeking is on the other side of that. So let me do a little bit of an overview of the past 12 months. A couple of podcast episodes ago, I gave you all a pretty good overview of what was happening in my life up until about early October. And then over the past 4 months, I have not been producing any outward facing content because I've been in a final part of my life makeover, essentially, that I've been through over the past 12 months. And this final phase of the journey was unexpected for me, but it really important and has taught me so much about letting go. I've received so much clarity. I've also just given myself the gift of space and time because I've been in a new chapter of my life too, which I'll share in a moment. And so I've just been in such a pivotal time of transformation and of really, in hindsight, being able to review all of the lessons that I've learned. So where I dropped you off, I was over in Ibiza at the time. I was at one of my clients' retreats, which was amazing, all about the divine feminine. I shared a lot about that journey over on my stories on Instagram. I was connected with some amazing women from all over the world, and it was so beautiful to realize how so much of the work that I have learned and teach on feminine energy and also the menstrual cycle and the moon cycle and living in this more cyclical way with our business and with our lives is so not known by most people across the world, and how important it is to keep spreading that message and to keep sharing what we're learning as women and as people who are leaning more into a healthy ownership of our feminine and masculine energy. And so that was a really transformational retreat for me, because I used it to come into a deeper layer of my own relationship with my feminine energy. And then that led me to realizing that I needed to take a little bit more time and space just to be with myself, to really let all of the ideas that I had percolate and sit and rest, and that there was no rush on moving forward. With that space came the clarity, which at first I really couldn't bring myself to face or admit to, which was that I needed to provide more space for myself in my business to let a next evolution of my work come through that wasn't even clear at that stage. So you can understand why it was really hard for me to do that. I knew that I needed to let go of something else in my business, and I knew it was for something else in my business, but at that stage I didn't know what it was. So it took me at least 6 weeks to be able to make that decision, and also to receive some little pieces of clarity as to what that next layer of work was, which ultimately really came into full view months later. So when I left you 2 episodes ago, I let you know that I was peeling things back in my business to create space for this next chapter, which I knew was emerging, and I've known it for quite some time. And I told you all that I was peeling everything back so that I just have one offer, which would be the Holistic Business Mistress Mind. I know so many of you have joined the waitlist and you've been waiting for me to share more details. And then it became apparent, as I mentioned, that I shouldn't move forward just yet. And I then had to make the painful decision and realization that I would not be running the Holistic Business Mistress Mind again. Of course, maybe that could change in the future. At this stage, I don't see that happening. I think that I've ran the Holistic Business Mistress Mind for many years now. It started in 2019, and I've been running it a number of times each year ever since. It was a program that I thought I would run for many, many years to come. But things changed, right? I changed. And as a manifesting generator, that's going to be something that happens quite often for me. This was such a painful realization for me to come to, because I really believe in that program. And I also really didn't want to let all of the people who have joined the program and continue to join the program, and all of you who are hoping to join the program, I really didn't want to let all of you down. And so this loyalty to the program and also to all of you was really clouding my own judgment and my ability to let go. And that's okay, right? Because that same commitment and loyalty is also a super strength of mine. And so I just needed to give myself space to really make sure that that was what I wanted to do. And so it was only right at the end of the year that I finally accepted that within myself. I shared the news to the current group of all of our Mistress Mind members. And now I'm here in February 2023, ready to share it with you all after continuing to sit with that decision for a couple more months. Now, over the course of that space and time, I have been navigating the world of dating and I have also entered into and officially opened up a new romantic relationship. This process has been one of the most extraordinary and beautiful processes that I've been on in my life, because relationships are an area that I have so much consciousness, intention, and experience in. It's been an area that I've been observing since I was a child, and I've had the perfect teachers around me since I was a child. And for those of you thinking maybe that meant having examples of really great relationships around me, actually that's not the case. And actually for those of us who have had poor examples around us, if you lean into that, they can become the best examples that you have, which allow you to have success in that particular area. And that was the case for me. So as a child, I grew up in dysfunction in terms of the romantic relationships around me and that were modeled to me. And I also got the best teachers, because both of my parents and the people around me learned so much through their own challenges and grew so much through those challenges and learned how to build more successful, loving relationships. And I got to experience why that's so important. And then ultimately, when I became a lawyer, I fell into, but of course there's no falling into, it was definitely meant to happen this way, the world of family law. And that's where I practiced and worked in for 6 years out of the 8 years that I worked in a law firm. And during this time, in my legal team, I witnessed some of the most beautiful examples of healthy relationships within the people who worked within my team. It was incredible, because the work that we did on a day-to-day basis to support people was all about relationship breakdowns. So we learned so much about what not to do in a relationship and why they end and how much pain that causes the people involved. And through that contrast and through that learning and example, these people around me had created the most beautiful relationships. And I'm so grateful for the examples that I saw in those people around me. And so I've been observing relationships and have known the power of them since I was a very young child. And when I was in my late teens, I had my first relationship, long-term relationship that went for 5 years. The last 2 years of those 5 years, we were kind of on and off, and it was agony, breaking up, getting back together. It was one of those relationships where we had a lot of love for each other, but there was also just a lot of drama and fighting. We didn't know how to communicate with each other. We were super young as well, but there was a lot we learned from it. And so when I got out of that relationship, I was lucky enough to have had a mother who had really developed and grown her own relationships and knew how to create healthy relationships. And she gave me some resources to follow. One of which was a program I did with Gay and Katie Hendricks, all about attracting genuine love. I did their program, and most importantly, I applied all of the lessons, and that helped me see the unconscious patterns I was recreating in relationships, not only in romance, but in my other relationships in my life, and really got me to start making conscious choices about what I actually wanted in a partner. And I was really introduced to the concept of manifestation. So this was my early 20s. And so much so that once I did that course, within about 4 months, I was in my next relationship, which was with my previous partner, who I ended up being in a relationship for 10 years with. It was so beautiful because the man that I manifested as my partner, through going through that process and just rejigging my unconscious patterns to ones that were conscious and chosen, I attracted someone who met everything that I truly desired. And we created a beautiful relationship from that foundation. It was the first relationship I had where I decided I would go into this relationship and choose to trust this person until proven otherwise, which is something that I think many people don't do in relationships. They usually wait for someone to prove that they're trustworthy.
that was a monumental decision for me because I had trust issues in the past, but I realized how my trust issues led to me recreating scenarios where I had people around me who broke my trust because I expected them to do so. So in this relationship, and this is a concept I've taught many of my clients in the future who I supported with relationships, I made a very intentional decision to trust him, and that paid off big time because I attracted someone who was trustworthy as a result of choosing to trust without needing for that to be proven. So my ex-partner and I created a beautiful relationship. We were together for 10 years. We were engaged to be married. We moved to London together. We lived in London for 4 years. We moved back to Sydney. We spent about 3 months in Cambodia together. We traveled all over the world together. We both realigned our career to be purpose-driven. He was with me when I made the move from lawyer to life coach, and we created a loving, wonderful relationship. And then in 2019, as I moved back to Sydney and we found ourselves back there and we realized that actually he wanted to stay in Sydney and I didn't, we started to realize that perhaps our futures weren't as aligned as we thought they were. And then over the next 2 years, we were trying to figure out how we could make things work and having lots of conversations about our future and whether it was really true for both of us to stay in this relationship. And we really wanted that to be the case. However, at the end of 2021, we both came to the conclusion that it just wasn't right for either of us. We were both sacrificing on living in a way that was really important to each of us, so that we both were ending up alone anyway, even though we were together, and we didn't want that for ourselves. So then we made the very painful decision to consciously bring that relationship to a close. We had a closing ceremony together. We made some agreements. It was very painful because once we made that decision and stuck to it, all I wanted was to get back into the relationship. And so I was in grief for many months and then needed, once I felt and experienced all that grief, to then start thinking again about what I wanted from a relationship. This time as a coach in her 6th year, having coached many people on relationships and of course business, which is all about relationships. And with the wisdom that I now have about who I am and what I want from the world, and also the abundant, loving mindset that I approach the world with. So it was really interesting for me to go back to some of these exercises I had done in the past around manifestation and consciously attracting what I want, and to apply it now to a relationship in 2022 at that time. And what was fascinating to me is that the answers that I wrote down this time were totally different to the answers I'd written more than 10 years ago, because I had changed so much as a person. And the thing was, my previous relationship was so good. There were so many amazing things about it that some of the desires that I had for a new relationship, like the pieces that I felt weren't met, felt really audacious, really bold, really like, could I really have this? And yet I knew that if my relationship had ended as it had, in the way that it had, which was clearly supported by the universe and by both of the people in it, I knew that that had to be the reason why the relationship ended, because my desires were my roadmap, right, to the next step I was meant to take. I also needed to consider, do I even want a relationship? Is that something that I really, really desire? So there was lots to process and think about on the topic of relationships. And I knew that with this relationship, I wanted to approach the entire process really consciously, applying conscious relationship principles, which include conscious communication, radical responsibility, radical honesty, and lots of other principles that I've been studying over the years. So that when I approached dating again, I actually only ended up dating 3 people in total. One person I went on 1 date with. The second person I went on 2 or 3 dates with. I can't remember. And then the third person is the person that I'm now in a relationship with. And it was fascinating because one of the things I really knew that I wanted to be with a coach. And when I told that to people, it just felt a little bit wild. I was judging myself too. And so were the people around me. I had lots of comments like, don't you think that's a little too specific? Do you really want to cut off anyone who's not a coach? But I knew that I wanted to be with a coach. I wanted someone who understood my love of personal development and was actively applying those principles. I wanted someone who could be in a conscious relationship with me and who understood conscious relationship principles. And I also wanted to be with someone who understood business and understood the world that I worked in, because personal development and business is not only how I serve people, it's also the way I think about the world. And I wanted someone who could work with me on that. And that was incredibly clear to me. So although I recognized I could have a partner who perhaps wasn't a coach, the inner knowing within me was that I really wanted to be with a coach. And that's how I quickly described it to myself and others. So when I met this third person and I saw that he was a coach, I immediately reached out to him almost only because he was a coach and in the same place as me, and because the app that I was on had shown his profile to me. That was like the second profile it showed to me. That's another thing. In all of the dating I did, I never searched endlessly for people. I would go onto an app when I was inspired to do so, and then each of the people I saw were either the first or the second profile that the algorithm showed me. Because of course, I'm never going to miss the person I'm meant to meet. That would always be the person who at the most aligned time I went in was shown to me, which I think is so magical. So I went on this date with this person, and then it was right before I was about to leave London. That's where we had the date. I was leaving in 3 days. I met him, and at the end of the date, for the first time, my whole body just felt electric. And so I knew that this was someone I needed to see again. But I was leaving, and he was really busy and had a million things on. So I ended up going to Mallorca next, and then I was in Ibiza, and then I was on my way to Mexico. But somehow we decided to keep connecting and getting to know each other. And so for the next 3 months, we connected online only, just talking. We did have one other date in person because I stopped in London for 36 hours at the end of October, and so we got to see each other again. So in mid-December, I decided I wanted to pursue this relationship, and I took courageous action and decided to leave Mexico and go to London so that I could do that. And then we spent the next 6 weeks while I was on my season break just getting to know each other with any spare time he had. And we, at the end of that, decided that we'd like to be in a relationship with each other. And we did a beautiful opening ceremony to set intentions for our relationship. And since then, the growth that we've been having within our relationship has been extraordinary and exactly what I wanted. So much so, we're sitting around having conversations and reflecting on the past couple of days or the past week, and both of us are just completely mind blown about how deeply we're connecting and about what we're experiencing together. And I am being blown away as I then recall moments over the past number of years where I've realized I had a craving or a desire for to have a partner who could meet me in a certain way, and then recognizing that I'm having this experience right now. And these were moments that I just sort of brushed aside and thought, well, you're in a relationship and you don't want to look outside of that relationship. You want to be really grateful for what you have. I couldn't at the time even entertain the possibility that I would, first of all, be in a relationship that was different to the one I was in. And second of all, that I could actually have everything I wanted. So I have just been in constant awe. And through this process, I've realized how important so many of the concepts I've learned and practiced over the years in and outside relationships, and then also everything that I have desired about relationships and meaningful connection and showing up in a conscious way in our relationships is something that is quite unique and is incredibly powerful and needed in the world. So much so, this has led me to really honoring that part of the work I want to support you all with is on the topic of relationships. Not just any relationships, conscious relationships. And this body of work that I'm now going to be creating support and content and coaching around is going to first focus on romantic relationships, but I'll eventually be opening it up to also explore wider family dynamics and also friendships and any other ways that we relate to each other as human beings. The reason for this is just like with choosing a life that we love, enjoy, and are inspired by, and creating a lifestyle for us around that allows us to create a life that is beautiful. And just as doing work that you actually find meaningful and love and enjoy and feel is purpose-driven helps you to create a life that is beautiful, just as much as those two pieces, having meaningful connection in your life and having people around you that you allow to see you and that you allow yourself to fully see them and experience the world with them without judgment and from a lens of unconditional love and consciousness and awareness, this allows you to have a beautiful, thriving life. And honestly, I think the quality of our relationships quite generally is terrible. And so I really want to share with you the tools that have helped me to create such amazing relationships throughout my life with relatively small adjustments, but with adjustments that require discipline and practice because it's so different to the way you've programmed yourself to live in everyday life and that you see modeled around you. The quality of your life really is about the quality of your relationships. I'm not sure, there's a quote to a similar effect about that I've heard before. I'm not sure who it's by, but I love it. It's true. And relationships are important for us as coaches, as business owners, as healers, because we're in relationship with everyone that we support. And we need to be supported in our own personal life too. I know many of you have unmet desires in your relationships. And I know the burden that is to carry that around with you and upon you in every day. I want you to know that it's really, really important for you to honor the desires that you have. And I also want you to know that these desires are there no matter what stage of the relationship cycle that you're in. For instance, you could be deciding whether you want to leave a relationship like I was from 2019 to 2021. You might have recently decided to leave a relationship and now you're in the process of uncoupling and you want to do it in a loving and conscious way because let's face it, anyone that you've chosen to be in a relationship with, you chose to be in that relationship from a place of love at some time. And I believe that we should leave those relationships from a place of love as well. That person is an amazing, beautiful person. And the only reason we get really mad at each other at the end of a relationship is because it's painful to let go of each other. But that doesn't mean that we should be horrible to each other in the process. That actually just makes it worse on everyone. You might be someone who's going through a breakup, a divorce, or a separation, and you might be in that grieving process like I was in 2022, where it just felt like everything was falling apart and I was having the biggest identity shifts, looking at my life all over again, which catapulted me into another huge life makeover, which of course in hindsight I'm so grateful for, but at the time it was very scary. Everything that I knew was changing, and that might be where you're at too. You might be someone who's dating. Maybe you've been dating for a while. Maybe you're just entering the dating scene like I was after 10 years. And you know that you want to do it in a way that is effective and efficient and very conscious, right? You know the power that you have as a manifester, and you want to approach dating in that way too. Or maybe you've just gotten into a new relationship and you want to make sure you really consciously open that up because you know the power of intention. Or perhaps you've been in a relationship for some time. It could be a short period of time or a long period of time. It's all relative anyway. And you want to improve your current relationship because you know you want to be in it and you know that you want the best relationship possible for the both of you. No matter where you're at, whatever desires you're having about a relationship are a roadmap to what's possible for you. And so I'm so excited to be sharing all of the tools that I have used and applied over the years, and most importantly through this last process that I've been on, because I've effectively been through the 6 stages of the relationship cycle over the past 14 months, right? All at once. I've been going through the whole thing at rapid pace, like I do a lot of things at. And so it's very fresh in my mind. And I know that when I'm experiencing something really deeply and when I'm embodying something in the present moment, that is the best time for me to teach and share. So this relationship cocoon and metamorphosis that I have been on has been so powerful and has revealed the next evolution of my work. So that's one big change that I want to share with you all. I'm going to share in a moment what that means in terms of my coaching. And I also want you to know that I'm still going to be supporting those of you who want it on the area of holistic business and also more generally life makeovers as coaches, space holders, and people in the business of personal development. And the reason for that is, while conscious relationships are the content I really want to share and get out to you all at the moment because that's what's really fresh in my head, I've also just been on a huge life makeover that has changed every aspect of my life. My mind and my body are constantly just in a lot of conflict because they're catching up still with all the changes that have been made. And I've had to learn a lot of tools to really support both of those to be able to hold everything that's come through, because my life seems so different to where it was or where I even wanted it to be a year ago. And that's what happens for those of us who experience rapid transformation, and particularly when it's a life makeover where it feels like it has touched every aspect of your life. So I'm going to also be sharing on the topic of life makeovers, and I'm also continuing to offer support for those of you who want it on growing your business holistically. Yeah, that's something that is still and will always be a passion and a purpose of mine, because I know one of the best ways to support the mission of helping people to create a life that is beautiful is to provide support to those of you who are helping people to do that. So my love for coaching and the industry and wanting to continue to be a leader of this industry will have me forever connected with supporting those of you who really feel like you want that support from me because you really resonate with the way I look at business and my holistic approach. So in terms of my coaching moving forward, I've also decided that I really, really want to hold space for you on a one-to-one basis. And it's not because one-to-one is any less or any more important than holding space on a group basis. It's simply because I'm called to work with you in this way. And so I know that that's something for me to lean into. I know that that means other people out there need it, and I'm going to honor that calling. I also feel really proud to be able to offer this because once your business gets to a certain stage as a coach, when you're earning a certain amount of money, you've got a certain amount of clients, the decision to be in a group model becomes quite an obvious choice, because it's the way that you can continue to serve the amount of people that are showing up to want coaching from you. And from a financial perspective, often it's the only thing that makes sense. However, I feel so deeply called to work and hold space for those who desire it on a one-to-one basis. So I'm making the decision to offer that one-to-one support. I don't know how long I'll be doing it. I imagine probably for the rest of this year. Obviously, there'll only be a certain amount of people I can hold one-to-one space for. However, I'm so excited because it's very rare to be able to work with a coach who has the level of skill and experience that I have, particularly on the area of business and coaching, and also more generally on life coaching. So if you're someone who knows that you've been looking for a really high-end coach, someone with a lot of experience, someone who's going to help you with really, really deep transformation, really embodying the highest level of leadership that you can embody, this is the opportunity for you. And in addition to that, I'm going to be offering this one-to-one support on the topics of holistic business or life makeovers, which doesn't have to be your whole life. It could be an upgrade in a particular area of your life if that's what you desire. And also for those of you who simply want to be in my apprenticeship, you can use the one-to-one coaching to support you to learn what I have learned directly from me in a coaching capacity to improve not only your business and your work as a coach, but also the rest of your life, of course. And then finally, I also open up my one-to-one coaching for those of you who want support specifically within the area of conscious relationships. This, for the time being, will be on romantic relationships in terms of the focus of the content I'm creating. However, if you'd also like support with other relationships in your life, we can, of course, apply the same principles to those. So if you feel called to that, you can find the details at letitiaringe.com/coaching. You'll notice that the page for coaching is very short. It just gives you the information you need about the costs involved, about how many sessions, and about the areas we cover. If you want to find out more details, get in touch, follow the prompts, and then you and I will have a conversation about what that coaching experience would look like for you personally. The one-to-one coaching will go for 3 months at a time. And what I recommend you think about is we will focus on all the different things that you want to grow or focus on transforming or changing or up-leveling 3 months at a time. So we just commit 3 months at a time and we focus 3 months at a time, which I really love as a beautiful a period of time to focus on any growth, like quarterly focus. So I love doing this in business, and it's also great for the rest of your life. So once again, you can go to letitiaringe.com/coaching and you'll find all of those details. And I recommend you take action now if you are feeling curious or excited or maybe even a little afraid, because as I mentioned, I can only take on a certain amount of people one-to-one. And if you feel like that has to be you, then please get in touch so that we can start our conversation and go from there. I'm so excited to be working with you all in this capacity because it is, of course, such a beautiful, intimate, deep experience working one-to-one. And I'm so excited to be able to offer that and to watch you all transform and step into the level of life and leadership and coaching and relationships that you truly desire. Because not only does this allow you to raise your consciousness and awareness and capacity to love and also fulfillment and enjoyment of life, a life that is beautiful to you, it also allows everyone you come into contact with to evolve and raise their consciousness, capacity to love and enjoyment and fulfillment in life too. And that, my friends, is what creates a world that is beautiful. Let's not forget that the reason we're here, the reason we work on ourselves, we work on our mind, we continue to develop is because when we do that, it gives the gift to everybody else and allows us to create the world that we actually want to be a part of. So my beautiful friends, the process I've been on over the past 12 months, while it hasn't been as front-facing in terms of the content I've been creating and what I've been sharing with you all online, it has been life-changing, and it's also given me so many incredible tools that I can't wait to share with you all. And I want you to know that this has helped me to transform my life on every level. I now have an amazing relationship with my body. The SIBO that I had been challenged with, which is a gut issue, has now gone. I'm in the best shape I've been in such a long time. I've been doing 4 to 6.5 hours of exercise almost every day. This is physical and mental and emotional exercise. And it's just helped me feel so free in my body. I'm strong, I'm flexible, I'm vibrant, and I just am so honored that I've been able to create that space for myself. And I've also created this beautiful relationship. I've made this big change in my business in terms of the direction I'm going so that it's really what I feel is my legacy work. And I've also been honored with being selected as one of 6 finalists for the Beautiful You Coaching Academy's International Coach of 2022. I was in absolute awe receiving this incredible honor, which is the highest honor you can receive in the Academy with the awards. And I put myself forward thinking, I haven't done enough this year, but I'm going to put myself forward anyway because of all the work I have done over the years I've been in business. And then I almost fell off my chair when I saw that I had actually been selected. And once I received that recognition, I thought about why I'd received it. And I realized that, of course, I should have put myself forward for that award. And I probably should have done it sooner. And it was a beautiful example for all of you, as well as to myself, of the truth that everything that we put out and we create has a cumulative effect, right? I think so many of us judge the success of our business and what we're able to receive based on what we're doing right now in this week, as if everything we've done before suddenly just ceases to exist. And it's simply not true. When someone looks me up and they go onto my website, they're going to see 182 podcast episodes to go into. They're going to see over 50 blogs. I don't even know how many there are. They're going to see all my videos on my YouTube channel. They're going to go to my social media. They're going to see all of these posts with quality content serving them, and they're going to start going through them all, right? So just remember all the ways we've served, all the conversations we've had in the past, all the people we've helped and supported. All of that is having an impact on you now and is having a cumulative impact on you in the future. So keep going and also give value to everything that you have created in the past and everything that you're going to create in the future, because all of it is important. So my beautiful friends, I think that's enough for today. I hope that you're just as excited as I am for the new content on life makeovers and also on conscious relationships. Of course, as I'm inspired or I feel that it's needed, I will share more content on holistic business and growing your business holistically. But please know there are so many resources on my website and on this podcast on those topics, and I recommend you go back and check them out. And I also, once again, want to say a huge thank you to everybody who's worked with me over the past 3 years on holistic business in one of my group programs, all of you who are part of the Mistress Mind and all of you who are hoping to be part of it. I honor each and every one of you. Thank you for co-creating that incredible space with me. And thank you for wanting to be a part of it if you didn't get a chance to do so. And once again, remember, if you'd like the experience of working on holistic business, life makeovers, life upgrades, apprenticeship, or conscious relationships with me on a one-to-one capacity, I would love to explore that with you, and head to letitiaringe.com/coaching. All right, my friends, I'm super excited to come back to you in the next episode with some of our new content. And I look forward to hearing with you. Get in touch with me either on my email or over on Instagram at Letitia Ringe. Lots of love. Thank you for listening to the Create a Life That Is Beautiful podcast. I'm your host, Letitia Ringe, and I appreciate you so much. If you would like support one-to-one as you up-level your life, business, or relationships in a conscious, intentional, and love-focused way, then head to letitiaringe.com/coaching. I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.